Picture it, Chicagoland, 1996. I'm 13 years old and hanging out with my buddies at one of their birthday parties. We're now teenagers and celebrating this particular friend's birthday in style. It's a hotel party and we're on the 10th floor in a Hyatt suite. Make no mistake, we're still young teenagers, and the two rooms are filled with snacks like nacho cheese Doritos and sodas, as well as with a PlayStation with Twisted Metal and our aging Super Nintendo. My buddies decide to call it a night around 3 a.m. after enough video games and hotel-related debauchery. I never went to bed that night. What did I spend the rest of the night doing until my buddy's parents knocked on our door at 7 a.m.? Playing my copy of Super Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo. Personal anecdotes filled with nostalgia notwithstanding, the original game itself is a masterpiece and a masterclass of putting a character that one couldn't see being in a turn-based RPG for the time. And for the first time, we saw Mario, Bowser, Princess Toadstool, and more not only make the leap to a somewhat isometric style of 3D, but also in an RPG game as well. Also had a number of Mario-style elements, up to and including some platforming aspects, and items like mushrooms, and Mario's hammer coming back from the days of the original Donkey Kong. This was also the first time we saw such a collaborative effort between both Nintendo and Squaresoft. Today, Mario has shown his hit points off over 10 additional times in RPG series like Paper Mario and the Mario & Luigi series. It was this original adventure, though, on the SNES, which had introduced stuff like timed hits, which are staples in both series of Mario RPG games, and many other series that have succeeded it. I still believe the original manages to stand the test of time, but there are others that perhaps find the gameplay of this original tough and the overall look even grainy. The core guts of the game is gold, which could be why Nintendo worked with Art DiPiazza to remake this classic game. But were they able to remake such a classic game that I still feel stands the test of time? Yes. Yes, they were. And we'll get into why shortly. The game starts off in classic Super Mario fashion. Mario must rescue Princess Peach from being kidnapped by Bowser, though once successful at Bowser's Keep, the three of them are scattered in all directions due to an enormous sword that crashes in, by way of destroying the Star Road on its path to doing so. Beat by beat, the remake is every bit the same as the original, story-wise. The only things I've really noticed is that a few cultural references have been changed or simply removed. Either they didn't stand the test of time, or perhaps Nintendo didn't get potential licensing needed for these. Overall, the story is perfection for this being the amalgamation of a normally simple story that comes with being a Super Mario entry, and complex, almost irreverence that standard RPGs can have. Speaking of stories, one connection I made with my latest playthrough was noticing how much storybook tales were interwoven within itself. You had a Wish Upon a Star scenario with the star itself animating a wooden toy, a la Pinocchio. There also was a Jack and the Beanstalk element, what with Bean Valley having vines that reached into a literal kingdom in the clouds. Even Princess Peach being locked at the top of Booster's Tower speaks to so many kidnapped damsels in distress like Rapunzel. While my partner watched me play the Super Mario RPG Remake, she had commented to me that she thought the game looked extremely colorful. I, of course, would agree, as the remake manages to take the colorful for its time graphics of the original and expands upon it greatly. The world itself is quite beautiful. I loved details such as the fact that the game sports a world map that flows all into one larger screen versus the sectioned off way the original had. Once exploring the individual worlds, I loved how these areas were expanded too. By comparison, the original looks quite barren and even boxed off. I'm almost surprised at how well everything looks. I mean, come on, look at the detail here on the floor. You can see the characters and environments within the reflections and everything. Each of the characters are quite expressive, often taking the exact look that they gave in the original at their cued portion of the conversations. There were a few notable changes, such as Mario and Mallow no longer giving peace signs. This goes back to Mario series creator Shigeru Miyamoto wanting to no longer have Mario do this, as he felt this was too juvenile and didn't want Mario to be solely associated with giving the peace sign. Speaking of the characters, I absolutely loved the full motion videos that were added. Not only did these include story bits, such as when characters are introduced, or whenever a boss battle is initiated, these also included a new aspect to the battle system that was added, the triple moves. These moves are unique to whichever 3 party members are in the party, and it also includes the ability to skip it in case the player grows tired from viewing these. Thankfully, they're only about 10 seconds or so. I'm glad the days of the minute-long attack animations that started from Final Fantasy VII are over. The overall flow between gameplay and these FMVs was seamless. This is quite the feat since the game runs at a near flawless 60 frames per second. And again, let me emphasize the word near, as I did have some frame rate slowdowns in a couple towns, as well as at the beginning of the game when Bowser is taking Peach in his Koopa Clown car back to his keep. I never had any slowdown in the battles themselves, which is imperative since timed hits are so important to its gameplay. And regarding the battle system, just like the original, it is turn-based and quite excellent. I noticed that the overall flow is quite fast. In fact, the wonderful guys at Digital Foundry had proven that it is even faster than the original SNES version. Link to that in the description below. Players control up to 3 party members at once, engaging enemies in attacks, while also receiving attacks back from said enemies. There are a few new additions to this remake. This includes the chain gauge, successful execution of timed attacks, as well as being able to time defense against enemy attacks increases this gauge. Not only does this allow the gauge to reach 100%, allowing the aforementioned triple moves to be executed, the chain gauge itself also adds slight buffs to the party, depending on whom Mario has in the group. Arte Piazza had advised that they hadn't tweaked any of the enemies' hit points or stats from the original, and honestly I could tell. I noticed that battles tended to be on the easier side, though perhaps this could be due to my over 24 years of playing this game. Another thing I noticed is that the timing of the attacks felt a little bit different, or perhaps different enough that I noticed I was missing nailing the timed attacks that muscle memory told my brain I should be hitting. In the original version, it only had the standard attack that could be timed to provide a greater attack value. The new entry not only has the standard and the timed hit, it also has a perfect timed hit option. This last option turns standard attacks to area of effect, hitting all enemies for damage, though enemies not initially targeted don't get as much damage as the primary one hit. Another big change is that unlike in the original game, the player can defend via timing single magic attacks like Hot Shot and Bolt. AoE enemy attacks cannot be defended against though. Yet another change would be the ability to switch out party members during battles, once Mario recruits party members beyond the 3 total allowed in a battle at once. This kind of reminded me of how Final Fantasy X worked, although unlike in that game, Mario RPG Remake automatically swaps out the backup party members into the main party if that main party gets wiped. Dead or incapacitated party members still within the party can take their turn, though they're only given the options of skipping the turn or switching to a party member not currently in the party. These party members that are out of the party, dead or incapacitated, cannot be revived or cured once they are out of the main party. They'll have to be swapped back and helped by an active party member. One thing about this remake I can't give enough credit to is the soundtrack. It is absolutely phenomenal. Arte Piazza had taken the original score from Yoko Shimomura and orchestrated all of the tracks akin to what was done in the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. And just like the source material graphically being expanded so beautifully and colorfully, the music has been given the same treatment and then some. I found myself humming the various themes as I was playing, as observed to me by my partner. She got many of the themes stuck in her head while watching and listening to me play too. For the next few minutes, I'm going to be speaking about a few potential spoilers. If you're totally new to Super Mario RPG, I recommend fast forwarding to the mark listed on the screen if you don't want anything spoiled. Still there? Great! As mentioned before, I'm no stranger to the banger original on the SNES. With that said, and the game being what I felt a little bit easier with some of the battle improvements, I did end up beating the game about 9 hours or so in. I ended up 100%ing and completing all of the post-game content by hour 14, too. I absolutely loved every minute of it though, and appreciated what they did change, like how the ending was presented. They added a couple scenes before the credits and the parade rolled, which was fun to see. Speaking of the parade, I was surprised that they decided to leave in the exact same pixelated parade, led by Luigi's only in-person appearance, beyond his wish on Star Hill of course, but I absolutely loved the sort of Wizard of Oz moment about halfway through the parade. In the original ending, when Jonathan Jones appears on his ship, the parade sunsets and Gino's Star Spirit illuminates the floats with flashy bulbs. In the remake, though, not only does Gino's Star Spirit do this, but it also turns the parade from its pixelated form to the remake's 3D models. Sort of like how the original trailer revealed the change from the pixelated introduction of Peach to the wonderful 3D and colorful models. The music also gets this treatment, going from the OG to the orchestrated masterpiece. I also really appreciated the new FMV at the end of the parade as well, which featured the entire cast, versus the original that only had Mario and Princess Toadstool waving goodbye to Gino's spirit. Once I'd beaten the game, it of course unlocked the post-game content, which really just consisted of rematch battles against most of the non-smithy bosses, though they had to be defeated in a specific order at the locations where they were originally fought. There were some cool mechanics to them, like Jonathan Jones' fight being exclusively one-on-one against Mario right off the bat, and no items being allowed. Admittedly, though, these battles really just kind of felt like filler compared to the original content in the OG. And speaking of that, I was delighted to see Culex back, surprisingly in his pixelated 2D form, with the Final Fantasy IV boss theme intact, along with the same victory theme and prelude theme afterwards. What I was not expecting was Culex coming back again in the post-game content, attaining a 3D form and being inordinately harder. When I faced 3D Culex, I had all of my characters at level 30 with their ultimate weapons, including Mario equipped with the Super Suit and Attack Scarf, and I still got wiped within a couple turns. Once I continued for my last save and was a bit more cautious and got into a good groove, this proved to be a challenging but extremely fun fight, all while a menacing but fantastically orchestrated version of the Final Fantasy IV boss theme played in the background. I am giving Super Mario RPG Remake a 10 out of 10. Arte Piazza, known for their remakes of Dragon Quest titles on the DS and 3DS, have really outdone themselves with this remake. Graphically, it is absolutely beautiful, running at 60 frames per second nearly the entire time. It's also sporting a fantastic battle system made interesting for the past, present, and future generations of gamers. Do I think this version is better than the original? Looking at it on paper, I think yes, it probably is. Does it take the place of the OG in my heart and nostalgia? Absolutely not. I will always love that version, and I'm extremely grateful for what Arte Piazza has done for old, longtime fans of myself. Seeing this remake does make me wonder and grow hopeful for what Arte Piazza and Square Enix could do for a remake of Chrono Trigger, and what that would or could look like. If it's anything like Super Mario RPG Remake, then I know superfans like myself can rest easy knowing it's in the right hands and excitedly await the day of its announcement. And instead of ending the video right here, I'm going to leave you with what we all came here to see.
Hardcore nudity!
No, not that. Instead, here's some random captures I got from some cool things and Easter eggs within the game itself that I've done. Also, don't forget to like or dislike and comment in the comment section below if you have played the original Super Mario RPG or if you'd like to play this remake. Thanks again for watching, and let's roll those funny clips.